everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on this side of social media. If you have not met me before, my name is Nicki. I'm also known as the Baby Whisperer on TikTok. You can find me there as well. I have tons of free resources, but my podcasts are going to be a lot about breastfeeding. I'm going to throw in maybe a few other experts in a couple other areas, but we're just going to do real talk and we're going to spill the milk together, and I'm going to whisper sweet nothings in your ear while we go on this journey together. And I was thinking about what would be the best topic for my first podcast. And I think some of you who may not know me may not know a lot of my background. So I thought it was important to discuss that with you. So I was a lactation consultant before I was a nurse. I am a board certified lactation consultant with over 20 years of experience helping moms and babes. And I practice a lot differently than most lactation consultants do. And it's not because I think I know better. It's because I have a different way. And you're going to find this out in all of these episodes that you're going to get to watch. And it's going to introduce you to a different way of thinking about breastfeeding and the struggles and the anxiety and the pumping and the sleeping and all of those things all mixed up into one. But today we're going to talk about some basic things that just kind of right now that's like out in the lactation world that just really drive me nuts. And we're going to do a lot of couch talk. And that's because I feel like you guys need it. So I get questions a lot from people who are like, what's the best advice to give a mom who's planning on breastfeeding? Well, first of all, I mean, I have tons of advice to give, but the first thing that it starts with is get to know people in the breastfeeding world so you know what to expect. I think the two things that are not taught enough of with breastfeeding is education. Education. We are forgetting that moms need to be educated. They need to have realistic expectations because what I've noticed, and especially the last 5 years since I've been on TikTok and social media, is that we're skipping over stuff that moms deserve to know. You deserve to know certain things, but we're skipping over those things and trying to go, oh, yeah, I get it that you want to know that, but this will fix it. No, you got to know it before you can fix it. And then you get to decide, does it even need to be fixed? Because we are trying to fix things that aren't broken. And it's like one of those things that I feel like, why are we so concerned about finding something wrong? Moms already feel like they're wrong. Let's try to find some right stuff for them. Let's try to say to a mom, you know how many things you're doing right? Like, let's talk about it. Let's find all the good that she's doing, right? And we skip over that. We skip over a lot of important things that moms need. Support, that's the second one. You need someone to cheer you on. You don't need someone to tell you, oh, we'll just do this. What if that's not what you want to do? What if that wasn't your plan for your baby and for your journey of motherhood? I don't want you to tell me what to do. I want you to tell me that what I'm doing is good. Tell me what I'm doing is good, because what works for me may not work for you. And honestly, your opinion really doesn't matter, but we've got to get those moms there. We've got to find moms in the place where they sit and support them right where they're sitting. We have to validate them. We have to understand them, but we also have to know they're speaking from a very fragile standpoint. When I say fragile, I mean it. They're anxious. You guys, your babies can't talk to you. You can't figure out what's wrong, and you just want to do the right thing because you want to be right and you want to be good and you want to be doing all the things. But nobody's there just rallying you and showing you maybe a different way to think about things. So that's what my job is. My job is not to convince you to breastfeed, because that's your choice, but my job is to support you and educate you and guide you and teach you to embrace what's going on in that moment. And then the biggest thing I have to teach is trust. I got to teach you some trust, because without trust, we're not going to get anywhere. And all those little flippant things that people tell you, yeah, this will teach you this and this. Yeah, go grab that app, go do this, go do that. That's not teaching you to trust your body and your baby. You should not trust an electronic piece of equipment, app, clock, scale. You're putting all your trust in that. What are you learning? What are you learning? So I like to break it down to moms. I like to talk about, hey, this is what's going to happen. Your baby's going to want to eat really frequently. I want you to know that's normal. I want you to know it's expected, right? So when you go into it and your baby starts eating every hour on the hour because they're going through a growth spurt, you're going to understand it as a growth spurt. You're not going to understand it as, oh no, I may not have enough supply. So that's why my baby wants to eat frequently. What if it was just because your baby's growing so rapidly and human milk is digested very rapidly because it's pure and it's specifically made for your baby? Yes, your baby wants to eat more often because the food they're eating is digested very quickly. But because people aren't educating you with common breastfeeding information, we're skipping over the stuff that's important and we're jumping the gun. We're doing things like tongue tie revisions. Let's get you into a chiropractor. Well, let's do this. Oh, let's do that. All before we sit mom down and watch her and her baby interact and show her, right? I do this a lot with some of my moms where I'm doing virtual consults with them and they're doing with their baby. And I'm like, oh, in my head, God, this baby's hungry. How do I tell her this baby's hungry? We just met and I don't want to boss her. And she's, shh. So I say, it's okay to feed your baby if you want to feed your baby. We can do that off screen or you can do it here with me. And I would enjoy watching you feed your baby because I could point out some really valuable pieces of information. Oh, no, she's not hungry. She just ate. And then in about 10 more minutes, she goes, do you think she's hungry? Yeah, I do. I do think she's hungry. Let's feed her. Let's feed that baby. Because I'm going to show you some stuff when you feed your baby. I'm going to show you first, you kind of got to a later sign of hunger. So let's talk about early signs of hunger and getting to your baby before they're mad and they're frantic. And then let's talk about when we put your baby to breast. What can you expect? Talk about active suck, swallow, breathe. Talk about those 3 phases that I talk about a lot. And those 3 phases I think are super important, but we need to lower the expectation. And there's moments when I'm doing consults with moms that I feel horrible for them. They've been through lactation consultant after lactation consultant and after lactation consultant. And they've told me their story. And I actually realize no one listened to them. No one listened to their story because I only had to listen to the story to know what was going on. I didn't even have to watch the baby latch because I know what's going to happen when the baby latches. So a really good example I have, and this is I'm sharing with permission, is I did a consult this week with a mom. And when you schedule a consult with me, it just asks you some basic questions. So the preface that I got from her was that her baby was 11 weeks old and that there was a latch issue. And so she started pumping and she really doesn't like pumping, but she's also still latching the baby intermittently. It's not going well. So I'm thinking going in, I'm like, oh no, we have a latch issue. Okay, I'm going to be ready to work with this 11-week-old. And I just because of what she said. But I waited and I heard her tell me, I feed the baby X amount in a bottle. And this is what I've been doing over the last couple of days. I said, well, let's get back to what do you want? What do you want from this visit with me? And she said, I want my baby to latch, but it's such a struggle. And I'm like, okay. So the next question I asked, what's the struggle? Are you having pain? And she said, no, there's no pain. My baby won't stay on me. So then I'm like, maybe we do have an anatomical problem. So then I asked more questions. Come to find out, her baby was only latching for 5 minutes, pulling off of breast intermittently, crying, going back, pulling off, going back. And after about 5 minutes, her baby would fall asleep. And then she said, and then I go lay her down because I have to make a bottle because she only ate for 5 minutes. And in that time, she starts crying and screaming because she's hungry. And I just don't know what to do. I can't keep doing all of this. Well, in that amount of time, I said, okay, well, tell me a little bit about your pumping. How are you pumping? What are you doing? And she's like, well, I'm pumping and getting 7 to 8 ounces after a feed. And I said, really? Well, that's a lot. She goes, well, that's because she's not hardly taking anything from me. And I said, well, how do you know how much she's taking? She said, well, she's only nursing for 5 minutes, so I know she's not eating long enough. Now, some of you are already catching on to what I'm saying. And my heart took a dip. And I said, and I took a chance. I said, did someone tell you your baby needed to eat for a certain amount of time to be full? She said, yes, the lactation consultant told her that. And then she said to me, that lactation consultant watched her feed her baby. Well, I already knew what was going to happen when I watched her feed her baby. I already knew. I knew for a fact that she had oversupply with overactive letdown. and that her baby in those 5 minutes was probably getting full, but getting full so quickly that they became uncomfortable. So in my mind, now I have to teach her, I have to turn her car in a complete different direction to tell her, your baby's probably full. And when you lay her down, she might be a little overly full. And so she cries. And then you get the bottle and you give her 4 ounces in the bottle. I said, and she spits out, doesn't she? She's like, yes, she's got reflux. And I said, oh no. Okay. I said, we need to start all over. I'm going to need to prove myself to you. And I want you to trust me with this. I said, I'm going to need you to I'm going to prove myself to you because you don't have an issue. There's no problem. It's just your interpretation of what's going on because someone hasn't given you the expectations and someone hasn't told you about your baby and their eating habits and what they're doing. So what she was doing, baby was on for 5 minutes, pulling off, popping off, trying to get away, shushing the baby. The baby would fall asleep. She put the baby down. Oh no, the baby's hungry again. Try to put the baby back on. The baby's fighting. No, 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 no. So then she goes and pumps and does the bottle. So I said, I want to try something. I said, I see your baby's taking a pacifier and pacifiers are a whole different episode. I said, let's try something. I was like, I think she's hungry because the whole time the baby was grunting, and doing all the cute little baby things. And so I was like, let's just try latching. Let's just try latching. I said, now I have a trick that I use for moms who have overactive letdown. And I said, and I think that's what you have. I said, but I want you to verify this with me. I said, I think you have overactive letdown. Does your baby choke while they're eating? Or can you really hear them gulping hard? She said, yeah. I said, okay. I said, are there times your baby pulls off your breast and is like choking? She says, yes. And I said, have there been times when you've pulled your baby off and you're spraying your milk in your baby's face? And she said, yes. And I said, okay. So Boob Brain up here tells me she's got overactive letdown. This baby's getting a lot of milk all at once. So I verified. So I said, okay, baby's hungry. Let's latch. So we latch the baby and I tell her, lean back. So she just does this. I go, no, no, no. Scoot your booty, take your butt, scoot it all the way down and lean back like this. You can imagine what this looks like right now. This probably looks really good to some people. Probably have like 3 chins out. Anyway, so she lays back, all the way back, scoot her booty down, lay all the way back in a reclined position. Her baby starts eating. Her baby still is struggling just a little bit, but she says she's not making that big gulping noise. And I had my volume all the way up on my device, so I heard that the baby wasn't gulping. And we get through the feed, and I start noticing the baby right here is really slowing down on their suckling, really slowing down. And I said, that's that second phase that I talk about. And don't worry, those episodes are coming. That's that second phase I talk about. She's starting to feel fullness. And she goes, there's no way it's only been 3 minutes. And I said, yeah, there is a way because that's what your baby's doing. I'm just simply watching your baby. And then pretty soon her baby kind of drifts off to sleep and then is awoken and starts pulling back and fighting the breast. And I'm like, oh, you had another letdown and your baby was full, trying to get to sleep or trying to just rest and digest and couldn't. I said, is this what this looks like to you? She's like, yes, she's refusing to eat anymore. So in that mom's mind, she was speaking for her baby. She was saying, but my baby's still hungry because of the signs that she was seeing. So I said, okay, let's try again. Let's put the baby back on. So we put the baby back on, same fight. I said, okay, stop. Hold the baby. Take your pacifier. Put it in the baby's mouth. I said, I'm going to guarantee you she goes to sleep in 5 seconds. And I was wrong. It took 2. She went right to sleep. Mom just had overactive letdown. And I didn't even need to see it to know that she had it. But she had seen 2 other LCs who were so fixated on telling her to breastfeed her baby for 15 minutes that she felt like she was failing. So if it was only 5 minutes, she'd give 3 ounces. If it was 10 minutes, she'd give 2 ounces, and so on and so forth. This mama wasn't educated. She wasn't supported. They told her to just go to pumping because her baby wouldn't latch. No, her baby latched and ate and got full. It was the manner in how the baby got full and why the baby was acting like it was acting after a feed was over. 1, she had another letdown, baby didn't want, pulled off, and probably simply could go back to breast and just rest there without having a nipple in its mouth. And she could comfort that way, or she could put that passy in. But when you see those 3 phases and you listen to them, because that's the language, it's better received. And her baby slept there for the next 30 minutes while her and I talked about expectations and that 15 minutes doesn't mean anything. But someone taught her that. Someone somewhere, two people actually, told her her baby wasn't feeding enough because of the 15-minute thing. This is one of the most disturbing things that happen to moms. Because listen, I don't know how much milk you get in 15 minutes. And that's what I told her. I said, I don't know how much milk you get in 5 minutes, but I do know your baby's full from whatever you gave them in 5 minutes. So then I did the little trick question. I said, so you're pumping now and not really putting baby to breast? And she says, yeah. I said, when you're pumping, how much milk are you getting in those first 5 minutes? And she said 4 ounces. So I said, you don't think your baby gets full from you in 5 minutes from your breast? And I know baby's more effective and efficient at breast. And then when you pump, you're showing me you have oversupply. I said, are you spraying the back of the flanges? Oh yeah, I'm spraying them, like full on spray. You can hear it. I didn't have to fix anything. I had to undo bad advice that should have been common sense breastfeeding lactation consultant 101 noticed just by her telling the story. But yet she was thinking she was failing because she wasn't supported or given education to what was truly going on. And she felt this incredible weight lift off of her shoulders. And I said, so what would you normally have done if I wouldn't have been here and told you to do the passy and watch and see what she does? She said, oh, I would have given her a bottle. I said, would she have vomited? And she goes, yeah, she usually spits up. She has reflux. No, it's not reflux. You're just overfeeding her, based on a clock. You let a clock decide that for you. So when you guys are getting information from people, education is key. They need to watch you. They need to do assessments with you. They need to talk you through things. They also need to validate that they know what they're talking about. Because if you can anticipate the next thing with the baby as a lactation consultant based on what you're seeing, that mom is going to start trusting you even more. And that's once you can trust the process, and that's all I did was teach her to trust that process. It changed her. It changed her whole outlook. But we forget to do that in the very beginning. We get you doing all these things. We tell you, oh, in order to bring your breast milk in, you need to pump. This one really just sets me off. In order to get your breast milk in better, you need to pump. Do you know how uneducated that sounds? That means that the one thing that has been proven time and time and time again for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years that takes breast milk out is this thing. Now we're saying this thing isn't good enough. You need to do something else too. So let's give you 2 full-time jobs instead of 1. So now after your baby eats, we want you to pump because we want you to bring your milk in. Removing milk in those first 3 days has nothing to do with whether you're going to get milk or not. Did you know that? Listen, this comes from moms who formula feed and never put a baby to breast get milk. They're not removing it. Milk is made because your placenta is gone. That is a signal to your body. You need to now not feed the baby internally. We're going to feed the baby externally. And your placenta allows prolactin levels to surge once it's gone because your placenta was carrying estrogen and progesterone, which canceled out that prolactin. And it takes your body a few days to get rid and shed all that progesterone and estrogen when that was canceling out that prolactin. You don't have to do anything to get milk. It just comes in. That's the way we're made. This removes milk way better than those plastic pump parts. And I'm giving you guys like little bits of information and education so that you keep coming back for more. But when I hold a baby, oxytocin is released. And I am a 48-year-old woman, but it will relax me in 2 seconds. It will. Oxytocin is important with milk production. And then if you put a baby to breast and you're getting nipple stimulation, now you're getting even more oxytocin. More oxytocin is coming at you. Baby to breast makes milk the best. We know this. You and I are here on this earth because somebody, somewhere, breastfed somebody. They did. Trace it back. It may not have been your grandma. That's the only choice they had 150 years ago, 200 years ago. And because that's all they had, that's all they knew. They knew normal up one side and down the other. They knew how to solve some problems because they'd all experienced all those same things. And not a single thing to solve a problem consisted of a piece of equipment. When you hold a pump part, I don't get that love hormone released with oxytocin. I have pressure. Oh my God, I got to pump. I hope I get enough. Oh gosh. There's no oxytocin flowing. There's none. Then this thing cold, hard, put it there. Yeah, that's definitely not like your baby. It's definitely not. Nope, not at all. There's a lot more variables in pumping than there is with baby. But some of the struggles that you have with baby, you don't have with pumping. And so that's when you get to choose what your struggles are, because you've gotten the knowledge and the education and the guidance and the support of other people. And you've taken that into consideration to figure out what's going to work for you. So here's the basis of it. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. Trust has to be there. You have to trust it. You have to educate yourself. How do I know my baby's getting full? What are some signs and some symptoms that my baby's getting full? What should I expect on day one when colostrum comes? Because when colostrum's here, it looks way different than when milk's here. On day 1 and 2, you should expect your baby to have the most disorganized suckling pattern ever. It's almost like a tease. Like they'll get on and they'll take a couple of big hard pulls and then they'll go to sleep and you'll be like, oh my God, just keep going, because you're so nervous. A little colostrum goes a long way. But there's this blind trust that you have to have. You're not going to see it go in. Somebody needs to tell you that. You're not going to see it go in. But what can we teach you to show you that it is? That's those 3 phases of a breastfeeding session that I talk about, and how your baby will hit every single one of those phases to tell you they're full. And I'm going to plug in a little mini episode for anybody who wants to watch it a little later on the 3 phases, but you'll get that and it'll get launched out. Those are the obstacles you face as a breastfeeding mom. These aren't clear. Your baby can't talk to you. It can send you signals, but you have to know when to receive them. And you have to know what those signals are. And those are those early signs of hunger. Look it up. Look it up. I'll plug them in somewhere. The early signs of hunger. I'll plug in all the hunger cues somewhere, probably on the Patreon page or something. But they're there. That's their language to you. They can't talk. They're sending you signs. Know the signs. Those are the things that are hard about breastfeeding. Okay. Cons to this, we already went through it. Lots of pressure, right? You're seeing it. But then the pro, when you're pumping, is you get to see it come out and you get to see it go in. And for some moms, they need that. And we have to support them through that. We have to teach that mom. This may seem easier in the moment, but it is a lot more work in the end. This, a lot more work in the beginning, a lot less work in the end. So you get to choose. Isn't that wonderful? You get to be educated in your decision. Don't let anybody make that decision for you. Go in to labor with the knowledge of what to expect. We take classes on labor. We get all this education on labor and we do all these things and we try to prepare ourselves for labor. We don't try to prepare ourselves for how we're going to feed our baby. And it's equally as important because there's a lot of things that are done that prevent that relationship from going smoothly. One of the biggest things that happen that prevent that relationship from being built on trust is on day 1 in the hospital when a nurse who knows you want to exclusively breastfeed wheels in a pump and says, better get you pumping. No, we want you, especially, I don't want to worry about you pumping right now. I want to worry about you building the confidence in your baby and your body. That's my job. I don't want to be like, well, you nursed him good. Here's a pump. Now pump. Now that becomes something you think you have to do because that nurse told you you needed to pump. My thing would be, why does she need to pump? See, test their knowledge. Well, the baby's losing weight. Yeah, all babies lose weight. Oh, well, the baby's lost 11%. Oh, yeah? Well, this mom spent 3 days being induced and you gave her fluids the whole entire time. And then she ended up in a C-section, a crash C-section. They've both been through a lot. He can lose 11% right now. She's going to go home and she's going to sit in her house and do nothing but breastfeed him. All those things, nothing. You don't need equipment. Do you need it to go back to work? Yeah. Are you going back to work tomorrow? Get good at the one thing that you want to be good at. Get so good at it that adding a second thing in doesn't feel overwhelming. Preparing to go back to work doesn't seem overwhelming. Your baby can't be good at 3 things. Your baby can't be good at latching to breast, latching to a bottle, and latching to a pacifier, all on day 1. They can't. Baby to breast makes milk the best. You want to turn into an exclusive pumper? I would encourage you to be an exclusive breastfeeder for 2 weeks to get that supply where it needs to be. Baby's working it. It's going well because there's not a lot of variables in there. It's baby to breast. Baby to breast makes milk the best. If you jump straight into pumping, you're not going to be making milk the best. Can you do it? Yes. I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying understand the pros and the cons of each one. That's all. So, I think this was a decent first episode to kind of get you in. If you want to find tons of free resources, you're going to find them all surrounding me. But I am on TikTok under Baby Whisperer, and then Instagram, same username. I have a website you can go to. I want to welcome you if you want to become part of the Patreon community. We're going to celebrate you a lot, and there's tons of levels of memberships, and you're going to get tons and tons of awesome, awesome videos. I don't know what I'm doing with these podcasts, but I know they need to be done. And I know moms need to hear the things that I'm saying to them because we are in this society where everybody's got a problem. Everybody needs this done, that done. The problem is we have lost our ability to sit with a mom and talk about breastfeeding and how there's some things you can't fix and you shouldn't fix them and you don't want them fixed. This podcast, you guys, I'm going to get so in depth on things. But if you become a member, you're going to get to put in those requests. There's opportunities for you to join me for a podcast. I'm going to have a wider range of guests lined up. I'm really excited about a few of them. I have a fellow lactation consultant that I absolutely love. She's going to be on here with me. I have a nurse practitioner who works with kids. She's going to be on here with me, and we're going to talk about CMPA because I hear that word so much. I know I'll spend a multitude of time just talking to you guys about your supply, and that's a big one. That's what I'm going to cover over a few weeks. I'm going to talk about the areas of the 4 different kinds of supply. You're only going to read about 3, but there's a 4th one that I'm going to throw in there for a loop to see if you guys can guess it. And I'm super excited about that too. Listen, I've loved hanging out. This is my first podcast, open for suggestions. I love comments. Send them out to me. No, I don't think I know everything, but I do think I know a lot because I've seen a lot. And I've learned a lot in my experience on how to be better and get better and do more for moms and evaluate how what I'm saying, is it helpful? So thank you so much for joining me today. I have loved every minute of it.